And that brings us to trial number 2 and the big story tonight, which is the search for Jeremy Christian's jurors. Now, the court is trying to find 12 people in Portland who don't have strong feelings about this case. That's a tough order, a very tall one with a trial this high profile. We got our first look, though, at Christian today in court since this whole process began. Our friends at the Oregonian, they fought really hard to be able to take these photos inside the courtroom during the jury selection, so we thank them for letting us use these photos for you tonight. Because of what they're showing. You can see what Christian is wearing there. It's a blue jail uniform. It's something he didn't have to wear. He could have worn a suit, but didn't. Maggie Vespa was also in the courtroom and heard firsthand why he made that decision.
Judge Cheryl Albright this morning warned Max attack suspect Jeremy Christian that wearing this blue jail uniform could make him look guilty to potential jurors. Oregon law mandates the state provide defendants with plain clothes, including a shirt and tie, if they want. Jeremy Christian wants to be seen in this uniform. He told the judge being held in jail pre-trial violates his 8th Amendment right against excessive bail. He said he wants jurors to see that and to see what really happened on the train. He also said, quote, "I don't care how much time I get in prison if I'm found guilty or innocent." The statement comes almost 3 years after Christian admits he stabbed 3 people on board a crowded MAX train. It happened in May of 2017. 2 of those people, Ricky Best and Talisha Nomkai Meche, died. A third, Micah Fletcher, was wounded but survived. Police said they stepped in to protect 2 black teenage girls, one wearing a hijab, from Christian's angry, racist rant. Facing a long list of charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, Christian has pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. His lawyers claim he lacked the capacity to know what he was doing. Christian's attorneys this morning asked jurors about their political beliefs, whether they had been to protests, and whether they thought protests were a good idea. KGW interviewed Jeremy Christian at a protest weeks before the MAX stabbings. Prosecutors asked about free speech, a passion of Christian's. He yelled about it on board that MAX train. They asked about circumstances where free speech becomes threatening or even illegal. At the end, as Christian watched, one juror was questioned away from the group. Attorneys said he had written on his questionnaire that he'd seen media coverage of the stabbings and believed Christian was racist. Defense attorneys asked he be excused, and the judge agreed. KGW has brought a team of legal analysts on board to help put these proceedings in perspective. One of them, Bob Weaver, gave us his take on potential jurors having been exposed to media.
There's no question that probably 99% of this jury pool will have seen, heard, or read something about the case. But the test is whether or not they can put aside anything that they may have read, heard, and seen and judge the case solely on the evidence that's produced during the course of the trial.
Maggie Vespa joining us now. I will say some of the discourse I've been seeing online resonates with me a little bit because I was not here when this happened.
Sure.
I do know the details, but I didn't know them as in-depth as I do now after watching your initial coverage. But a lot of people, and me included, thought at first this seems kind of like a slam dunk, so to speak. There were a lot of witnesses. There was video on the train. He admitted to doing it at one point, but it is not at all that case, right?
Yeah, well, no one contests that he did this. Everybody admits that he did this, including his own attorneys and him. This is an insanity trial, basically. He's pleading not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. So his lawyers say he has diminished capacity. They think he has some sort of mental illness, and he didn't have the capacity to know what he was doing in that moment, to appreciate the criminality, and perhaps he perceived a threat when there wasn't one. So that's what they're arguing.
There was an argument early on, way before this, to have this trial moved to another location. And then during jury selection, you realize how close this does hit to home because one of the jurors has a kind of a weird connection to all this.
It was a crazy moment. We found out during the questioning of potential jurors today, the first juror question revealed she grew up next to Micah Fletcher's family. She says, Micah Fletcher's my neighbor. I don't know him very well. In fact, she's years younger than he is, so she doesn't know him well at all. And so attorneys asked her, do you think that you can be fair? Do you think that you can be unbiased? You're to see him testifying, presumably. And she says, she thinks she can be. It's hard to know without being in that scenario, but for now, they haven't excluded her. She's still a potential juror.
Seemed like an honest answer, though. Of course, I don't know her or what it's like to be in that situation, but it seemed like an honest answer. Where do we go now? Where do we go moving forward? So much is happening in the next couple of days.
Sure. So this process is going to continue all week. They're bringing in groups of jurors every morning and every afternoon. They have a lot to get through, and they basically told everybody, don't make any plans, because we will tell you the day before the trial, in all likelihood, which is Monday, trial starts Tuesday, whether or not you are a juror. We have a lot to get through. We have a lot to do. And then again, they'll find out Monday, and then starting Tuesday, after almost 3 years, we go into this double murder trial.
Maggie Vespa, thank you so much. Everyone at home, if you have questions, you have things you want Maggie to look into, please reach out to Maggie, reach out to us here at KGW. Give us those questions. We read all of your comments, believe us.
We do.
Maggie, thanks again.
Sure.